80 years after the blast that killed more than 140,000 people, Hiroshima remembers victims of the first ever atomic bomb. Japan is marking 80 years since the United States dropped the first atomic bomb on the city of Hiroshima. Japan is the only nation to have suffered the devastating impact of nuclear warfare, and survivors still warn against the use of nuclear weapons in future conflicts. Our correspondent Shaima Khalil joins us now, and Shaima, a day of commemoration and warnings there.
A day of commemoration, a day of poignant remembrance, but also a day of mixed emotions. It started with a solemn ceremony as the city marked 80 years since that bomb dropped on Hiroshima, wiping out whole communities in seconds. There were songs, there were silent moments, and there were calls yet again to abolish nuclear weapons. But there were also angry demonstrations in different parts of the city, and thousands of people who've gathered here in Hiroshima, most of them here in the Peace Park, walking around the A-Dome, the most famous building in Hiroshima that withstood that bombing. All of them gathered to mark the significant day, albeit with very painful memories.
As the peace bell tolled over a silent city, the devastating legacy of a weapon that changed the world echoed far beyond Japan. 80 years ago, Hiroshima was struck by a blinding flash. The atomic bomb killed tens of thousands in seconds, turning entire neighborhoods into ash. It was the only time nuclear weapons were used in war. The devastation was unlike anything seen before. Bodies burned as people scrambled for safety. Survivors would later describe them as ghosts. Toxic radiation contaminated the city. For years, people suffered from illnesses, disfigurement, and loss. Saitoshi Tanaka was 18 months old when the bomb hit. His mother carried him on her back and rushed to her family's neighborhood. This local school is where his grandparents' home once stood. Corpses were strewn all over the area, he tells me. Tanaka-san was exposed to radiation and suffered multiple cancers.
It started with esophageal cancer. It then spread to my throat. And by the time I reached my 60s, the cancer had spread to my mouth.
The Nobel Peace Prize laureates.
Tanaka-san is a member of a group representing survivors of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They won the Nobel Peace Prize last year for their efforts to abolish nuclear weapons. Being at the ceremony was a moment of pride, but also of sorrow, he says.
Sadly, 80 years on, it is turning out exactly as predicted. While we say we must not create any more victims of nuclear arms, more countries have acquired these weapons.
When you look at the situation in Gaza and Ukraine, how does that make you feel?
When I watch scenes of ruins, towns destroyed and devastated, women, mothers, and children fleeing in panic, I can't help but compare them to my own experiences. It is almost something my body remembers. It is very painful.
Wherever you look, there are reminders of the horrors that people lived through. 80 years ago, this entire area was engulfed in flames, a sea of red, as one survivor put it. The atomic bomb may have played a major role in ending the Second World War, but it unleashed the terror of nuclear warfare. And the fear now is that today's nuclear weapons are far more powerful, and the threat of them being used feels closer than ever.
At the heart of the Peace Park, a stone cenotaph holds the names of the dead and a message for the world. Let all the souls here rest in peace, it says, for we shall not repeat the evil. Shaima Khalil, BBC News, Hiroshima.
The BMA has agreed to re-enter talks with the government in the dispute over pay and conditions for resident doctors in England. The union says negotiations will be held over the coming weeks and that no more strikes will be called during that period. It follows a 5-day walkout by resident doctors last month.